Morning, everybody. This is James, Empty Pockets Garage. It's February 23rd. It is 5:30 in the morning. I woke up this morning and I was looking for a little bit of inspiration because I've been dealing with the whole Haitian subject for the last couple of days and it kind of got me a little ticked off. So I'm scrolling through YouTube and I don't know how many of you guys know who Patrick Bet David is, but he's got they have a YouTube channel, actually quite of a network called Valuetainment, and they have some financial gurus that you can be part of their community. But he's pretty good inspirational speaker. So I was listening to his speech, and I thought, well, I'm gonna do a quick live stream, which I know just about everybody will not see this because nobody's up as early as I am. But you can watch the replay of it and understand why our government fears us. And what's funny is, and you'll hear it in his speech, we are one of the youngest countries in the world. But right now, we've got the oldest original constitutional document. We're about to turn 250 years old. I don't know, a lot of you guys may not be old enough to remember the 200th birthday. It was that year-long celebration. I'm kind of looking forward to this one. As a kid then, I mean, I was old enough to riding my bike around town, everything red, white, and blue, flags everywhere all the time. But we're about to turn 250 years old. And I'm going to play this speech that Patrick Bet David did at CPAC this week. And it's going to explain how our Constitution has two things no other Constitution in the world has. And that's what makes us different than everybody else. The First and Second Amendment. So bear with me. I'm still new at this. Let me get this clicked on. He's a much better speaker than I am. And it's like a 12-minute speech if you guys will indulge me. And I'll jump back on as soon as we're done with it.
Two things tyrants running a country fear. What are the two things? First thing they fear is you and I having guns to protect ourselves. The second thing they fear is you and I having a megaphone to express ourselves. Now, I want you to think about this. In the last 3 weeks, I've interviewed two different people. One of the ones I had on the podcast 3 weeks ago, he flew in the entire time he was nervous. He was a former founder of the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. He started the IRGC with Khomeini in 1979. 3 months after I was born, I was living in Iran, and I brought him on the podcast. For many years, we've been wanting to have this man to come on the podcast, but obviously he doesn't want to come because directly and indirectly, millions of people died because of this man. If you go on Google, you type in founder of IRGC, you'll see his name and Khomeini's name. I bring him on. It's a little bit uncomfortable. I say, so let me ask you a question. When you guys took over the revolution, the Shah is gone. That's the last time the Middle East was at peace. No issues. Iran gets along with Israel. No wars. Things are good. Then you come over. You take over Iran. Khomeini flies in, you fly in. What is the first thing you guys did? He says, our number one mission was to get all the guns out of people's hands. And I said, tell me why. He says, because we wanted to be safe. I said, safe from what? Well, we had to be careful because there was a lot of criminals who had a lot of guns. I said, citizens having guns are criminals. They're trying to protect themselves. Here, first thing is what? Your guns, because you can protect yourself. 2 days ago, I got back from Brazil. We're flying out to Brazil to do a 3-hour interview with former President Jair Bolsonaro. How many of you guys love President Bolsonaro? So we're in Brazil. While we're about to go, they are briefing us on what to be prepared for before we go to Brazil. They say, number one, have an international lawyer ready in case something happens. Number two, make sure you have an armored truck. Number three, come with a good delegation. We went with 9 of us. And then we'll be escorting you all over the place. So we go and we experience everything. And then eventually the president comes. And the president sits there and we start conducting the interview. One of the most emotional interviews I've ever done. This man is crying, tears dropping on the table. I can't wait for the interview to come out this Wednesday. And I hear him speaking. About 15 minutes left for the interview to be done. Somebody comes in and is whispering in his ear, whispering in his ear. Boom. He swipes the hand. Interview ends. Doing all the stuff that he's doing. He gets out. 1 hour later, alert on the phone. Jair Bolsonaro has been charged and is facing 38 years in prison. For what? There's a judge there in Brazil. His name is Alexandre de Moraes. If there is a picture for someone that looks like a tyrant, it is Alexandre de Moraes. This man is a tyrant at the highest level. And he is the second man, the second point that tyrants fear is freedom of speech. I'm talking to the former president. He's not comfortable talking about certain things, but he let everything loose. He knows you can't talk. They don't want you to talk over there. So you got guns, freedom of speech, and in the world, we have 195 countries, of which 193 have constitutions. Of the 193 that have constitutions, only one country gives you full-on freedom of speech with nothing about hate speech and Second Amendment. We're the only ones here that we have in America. Now keep this in mind. Sometimes when we sit there, we hear about, next year's going to be United States birthday for 250 years. It's going to be amazing. We are one of the youngest countries in the world. It's awesome. Well, think about the oldest countries in the world. Iran, roughly 3300 BC. Egypt, 3100 BC. You got Assyria, you got Armenia, you got China, you got all these countries, right? Oldest. We are one of the youngest. But watch this here. Does anybody know what country has the oldest constitution in the world? What country has the oldest constitution in the world, including UK? We, the people, have the oldest constitution in the world. So now watch this. Some of you are clapping. You're like, I don't know what point he's trying to make here. I don't know where you're going. Dominican Republic has changed their constitution 32 times. Venezuela 26 times. Haiti 24. Ecuador 20. Brazil's changed it 7 times in the last 100 years. While I'm there in Brazil, we're going to the airport. Our flight's at 4:30. We get there at 2 o'clock waiting. Our flight gets canceled. We have to redirect our flight. We go to Peru, and then from Peru we fly out to Miami. And I'll never forget when we landed in Miami. It reminded me of back in July 15th of '89 when we're escaping Iran on a Lufthansa flight. And while we're going, everybody's waiting for the one magical word from the flight attendant. Anybody knows what it is? It's very simple. You can officially order alcohol. We've crossed the border. And we're like, we're free. This is amazing. We are officially out of Iran, right? So we land in Miami. I'm like, oh my God, this kind of takes me back to that moment when we left, Iran and experiencing what freedom's like. Then we get down here and I'm sitting and I'm talking to all these different senators and congressmen in Brazil. And here's a number I noticed. I want to kind of take it back because it's very important for us to be thinking about. In Brazil, they have 11 Supreme Court justices, of which only 2 are conservative. In Brazil, they have 81 senators, of which only 22 are conservatives. In Brazil, they have 513 congressmen and women, of which only 130 are conservatives. Let me just kind of take back a little bit and talk to you guys about maybe possibly the greatest accomplishment any president. The Supreme Court justice was the other way around, 6-3. And when they said Colorado wants to remove the president off the ballot, and they would have succeeded, Kamala Harris would have been your president today. I understand, I'm with you. But I want you to think about why this is so important. For 25 years of my life, I was an atheist. When you live in Iran, my mother's Armenian, her last name's Bogosian, my dad's Assyrian, Bet David. I'm living in Iran, we're a Christian family trying to make it work. We're going to school, you're going to church, kind of keep it quiet. And you dream about one day coming here. You're like, oh my God, I can't wait to one day come to America. It's going to be such a great deal to come to America. I'm sitting there kind of thinking to myself about all this stuff with Iran. And hey, the Congress, the Senate, all this stuff. You bring it to today. This man flips 3 Supreme Court justices. He doesn't do that, Kamala gets in. They would have done everything in their power they could have to prevent the president from speaking. They try to silence him. They took him all the social media sites. There's a lot of people that want to be friends with him today. Same people that silenced him. They said you can't use social media. Got off. Then you go from there, you dream about coming to America, and you sit there, you think about it, you say, oh my God, I cannot even believe the fact that I'm living in a country like this where you and I, as an atheist, you're like, maybe God this, I don't know about this, people are dying in Iran, I'm in a refugee camp in Germany for a year and a half, you come to the States, I'm a regular guy going to school, then all of a sudden I join the Army, I go to the 101st Airborne Division. Honestly, I joined at first for GI Bill, and I'm standing there waiting. We're at a Labor Day, a Memorial Day, and I see one of my chief warrant officers on this side in tears. I see another colonel over here in tears. I see a sergeant first class on this side in tears. I'm like, why are these guys crying? Why are they crying? And then we go into the auditorium, they say, there's a movie coming out about your unit. You guys are going to get a chance to watch it before the world sees it. What's the movie? Saving Private Ryan. I watched this movie at the end, I'm like, I am so proud to be an American. I am so proud to be part of the 101st Airborne Division. I am so proud to be living here. So I watched. While I'm in the Army, because of my PT score, I was able to go hang out at this one camp for 2 days where we could play pool, jump in a lake, and all this stuff. This man hands me a Bible. I'm like, sir, I'm the wrong guy to give you a Bible. He says, my parents gifted me this Bible December 24th of 1974. I think you need it more than I do. I said, I'm telling you, it's not, you don't want to give it to me. I'm the wrong guy. He gives it to me. I start praying 3 times a day. Long story short, 25 years old, life changes, God's in my life. Everything from there has been revolutionary. It doesn't even make sense to me. It's a miracle. Here's what it made me think about. How many of you remember the last time you had one of those nights where you pray for an hour and you're on your knees and nobody sees you? Who knows what I'm talking about? Anybody's ever done that before? By the way, for some of you that are devout Christians, maybe it's a normal Tuesday for you, but for those of you guys that just kind of go to church once in a while, you've only done that 3 or 4 or 5 times in your life. Does anybody relate where you don't do that often? What were you praying about in June of 2024? What were you praying about when you're sitting there? What were we thinking about? What was going on? What were the issues? Everything we're watching, what's going to be taking place? And then you mean to tell me the president is a one look away from this being assassinated, and he lives, and all these miracles happen. 8 years flips 1 seat, Trump flips 3 seats in 1 term. You don't think God's hands on America again? By the way, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is sometimes when we start winning and we start making money and we start driving the nice cars and our candidate wins and we're like, yay, it's great and it's awesome, our paranoia goes away. Let me just prepare you for something. We got to stay paranoid. We got to stay optimistic. They're plotting their moves behind closed doors while you and I are here at this event. We got to keep recruiting the next Bobby Kennedys, the next Tulsi Gabbers, the next Elon Musk, the next Joe Rogans, the next anybody. We got to recruit them over with common sense, with values, with the way we treat them. And if we do that, the future of America will look bright like never before. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you.
I just wanted to share that for some that don't pay attention to CPAC. Later on, I'm gonna do another. Like I always say, I do live streams because it's easier than making a video, trying to edit it. There's a gentleman overseas that did a speech on the lunacy and the damage that woke and DEI has done to Western civilization, not just to the United States. But we had one thing going for us, our Constitution. That seems to be the binding theme for everything that makes this America great and keeps us being free. Because it is we the people. Yeah, I didn't want to get on here too long. I just wanted to share that. I woke up, I watched that, I felt inspired, and I just wanted to share it. So I know it's Sunday morning. Y'all got better things to do than hang out on this live. Probably could have watched it later on. But this is the time I get up. So Patrick Bet David, he's a good inspirational speaker. I've heard a couple of his speeches before, but he is a true believer in this experiment called USA. Because that's what the rest of the world calls this. You know that, right? We're an experiment. They keep looking for that wall to fall, to knock us off that wall. Because I don't know if you want to call it envy, you want to call it arrogance. I don't know. But they always seem to have a problem with our Western values. Good morning, Dima. Yeah, it is a great time to be alive. This is probably uh, one of the best times right now, I'd say, in the last, oh, geez, I'm going to say for 30 years. Uh, Easy. And I'm sure some would say beyond that, but I'm going to say at least this is the best time in 30 years. So, and it just depends on how much you dig into politics. Because if you dig into politics, you're going to never be happy. Because politics, guys, is a very degrading thing. I mean, you have to know that there's some kind of incentive that makes no sense. Because once you, it's kind of like the people that uh, President Trump nominated for these positions. The the bombardment of lies and name calling and digging into their past, you know, uh, wanting to complain and make a big deal that they drink too much when in their 20s. You know, if I had to go by those standards, I would never be able to hold office anywhere. I couldn't even be a janitor in the city hall here if that was the case. But eh, and then, but one senator or a congressman, I'm sorry, kind of threw it back in their faces, asking them how many times they've been called in to make a vote on something in the evening, and people come in there drunk on their ass, but yet they wanted to, you know, berate Pete Hegseth for. I mean, I don't agree with the womanizing thing, but You know, I love women too, and there was a time when you could compliment a woman and it was okay. So now you got to have like uh, three consent forms and a picture ID and a promise to marry him if you uh, talk to him too deep. And I ain't even talking about physical contact. It is unreal. And you know I'm making a joke on this, right? Yeah, damn it. See, but that's all politics is anymore. It's mudslinging. And usually the ones who sling the most are the ones who are guilty of what they're doing. Of, you know, you take Adam Schiff, Jamie Raskin, and there's a few others. There's a new congresswoman, and I can't remember her name now. This woman is delusional. She sees everything through the lens of race. She was talking about Elon Musk. She's one of those ones that's unelected official and doing in the job that he shouldn't be doing, which is all bullshit. But I breach. Yeah, there was a time when you could compliment. I mean, I get it. If you're walking down the street and it's the old scenario, you walk across by a construction site, you got, 5, 6 guys taking a break and they start whistling at you saying, "Hey, baby." Yeah. You know what I mean? That can be annoying, but today they try to call that verbal sexual assault. I can see it being annoying. You have the right to turn around and flip them off and, you know, give them a few verbal uh, choice words yourself. So, those things are irritating. I get it. But, yeah, I'm getting off track. I just wanted to play that speech and say that there's two things that we have that nobody else has that makes this the greatest country in the world. And that's the First and Second Amendment. And I hope nobody ever forgets that. Every time they holler gun rights, gun violence, well, they don't have no guns over in England, but they sure do have a lot of knife uh, attacks. People find a way to hurt each other. Don't get me wrong, a gun is very efficient. And I think, a gun is a very dangerous thing, but so is a car. I mean, how many times does whether domestic or whatever kind of terrorist, drives a car through a crowd or rents a big box truck and drives them through a crowd or a parade? I mean, if you think about it, they injure and kill as much, if not more, than a mass shooter situation. I wish they would allow fully automatic machine guns again. Now I know they're not going to, but personal preference, I would like to have machine guns back. But you can't have everything. It's like I don't know if y'all remember the dumb statement that President Biden said, where he was talking about uh, we worry too much about our little guns that we can't fight an F-16, or we're not allowed to own a cannon. Uh, he's wrong on both counts. Uh, for one thing, and they almost changed that too, because uh, the military can't do a strike on its own civilians on U.S. soil. So an F-16 ain't gonna do shit. But we all have guns powerful enough to take an F-16 down. I mean, he made a silly statement. So an armed society keeps our government in check, and they're really trying to do away with the First Amendment these last 4 or so years, longer than that, really. But the language police, what you can and cannot say, uh, who might you offend, you know, hate speech, uncomfortable speech. Well, I don't know if they're getting it through their thick skulls yet, but I believe you have the right, as long as you don't threaten somebody with physical violence. All bets are off when you do that. If a person wants to stand, if I'm, and I put myself in that position to be in a public setting, talking my point of view, and somebody wants to not just, and here's what the left does, they don't just debate, they name call. They like to attack your looks, your appearance of what, however, they try to find whatever flaw you have. They want to harp on that stuff. But yet they're the tolerant ones. We're the mean ones. But you've seen it. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I feel for them too. Like, you take a black conservative, the amount of trash that his fellow or her fellow black community people call them is unreal. But they have the right to do it. First Amendment says they do. And I will fight for them to have that right to do it. The whole idea is to have different ideas in the square of public opinion, and the ones with the better ideas rise to the top, and the ones with stupid ideas like KKK, they get squashed. But we do it on our own. We don't do it because the government tells us to. So, anyways, I'm not sure if any of this is making sense this early in the morning. I'm gonna do another one here shortly. A gentleman over in England, and it's pretty bad when a somebody in another country can describe our issues and explain it better than I ever could. The damages of the woke and DEI situation to our country. So I'll do that here. It's not going to take long. I'll have it back up. I always live stream now, so it'll be live stream, but you don't have to log on to watch it live. Do it at your convenience, but if you please would watch them. I try to make sure that the information I put out there is as positive as possible, or at least as informational as possible that you might want to know about. What what we got here, Breach? Yeah, Breach. I couldn't tell you how many times I've been called a racist, and I tell you why. I live in Springfield, Ohio. We have a Haitian problem here. If you have a problem with that, you're a racist. Not for the simple fact that they run their cars into everything. They usually have no insurance, either no license or suspended license, and they get to drive away from the accident, even with all those in that scenario. And then when they go to court and the court proceedings is over with, and then you can go in public records and check, and there's nothing against them, not against their license, not against, not, you know, nothing, nothing, zero violations. But when you bring that to the local government's attention, you're racist. So yeah, they do like to shame, belittle, and when you're right, it's when they get triggered. Most of us hold our cool very well, at least on the right. And anymore, uh, if I'm in a conversation with somebody on the left and they're triggered, like right here on the internet, I've had that happen a few times. Get the trolls in there, and they'll try anything and everything to get under your skin, except have a meaningful conversation or a debate, uh, to try to see if we can find common ground. They're not interested in that. They're not interested in compromising. This country is ran on compromising. We should never expect to get it 100% our way all the time. It's impossible. They have a way they want things done, just like we have a way we want things done. President Trump has to govern an entire nation, not just 77 million. Oh, no kidding. Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying there, Breach. And I don't know if you get a good example. See, this stuff's caught on video too. You know, the JLR investigations when all these idiots were running, all these YouTube content creators was running around here doing man on the street interviews and all this other stuff. He literally come upon a Haitian accident, uh, with a 30-day tag that had expired in the back window. And I don't know their license status, but, and they're prone to lying. This is what's bad. So there was witnesses, and I think JLR was one of the witnesses. Uh, and this person act like they're not the one that was at fault. But they always act like that every time they get in an accident. Somebody else did it to them. They didn't do it. But anyways, they literally let them drive away. And it happens every day here. If the cars are even drivable, sometimes they're not. It's, Breach will tell you, they like to take these corners around here at whatever speed they're traveling at without ever hitting the brakes. I've never seen so many flip over accidents in all my life as I have in the last year. And, people say, well, how do they flip them over? Well, they'll clip another car, or they'll, You know, because when you go around a corner, because you know, at an intersection, the corner is 90 degrees. You go around the corner, and your front end pushes, even though you're trying to turn it one way or the other, but it still pushes the car to the outside because of the speed you're traveling at. Flip the curb and roll. Happens a lot. I've seen cars hit other cars in the ass end and then try to tell the police that the car in front of them backed their car up because they went out into the intersection too far and backed their car up and hit the other car, and then those when that wasn't there was four witnesses saying no, the first car never moved. The car that the Haitian was driving come right up to them and never hit their brakes. Happens all the time here, but we're racist if we bring this to our local council's attention. Now they tried to do a little bit about it some time ago, but as soon as all the hype went away, so did the effort. I mean, the governor did a little bit with the state highway patrol coming in here, uh, but they're really the driving still sucks. Anyways, I don't want to stick with on that one there. That's what not what this video was about. So you guys, it's Sunday morning. Y'all enjoy your morning. Anybody that's going to church today, uh, pray for somebody in need. Don't pray for yourself. Pray for somebody in need because there's a lot of them out there. So, like I said, I'm gonna do another segment later. Right now, I got to get out of here. So, saying that, I'm James of Empty Pockets Garage. Till next time.